Welcome. This Play Media replay episode looks at why brands should be marketing to gamers and what is attractive about that. This series is a YouTube series from my Play Media business. You can check that out at weareplaymedia.com. If you're a brand wanting to understand the world of gaming, that's exactly what we've set up Play Media for. So you can check that out at weareplaymedia.com. If you are listening to this and wondering where is Sports Geek, it's still me, still the same, but I'm also working in the gaming and video games space. We'll still be continuing the world of Sports Geek. The Sports Geek podcast feed will return to normal programming very, very shortly, but I thought you would enjoy this video series that I've converted to an audio podcast form. So please enjoy this episode of Play Media, where we look at why don't more brands market to gamers. Welcome to Play Media, your gaming growth partner. My name is Sean Callanan. I am joined by my co-host and co-founder, Chris Derrick. Welcome, Chris.
G'day, Sean. Glad to be here.
Here we are, looking to help you, a marketer, understand the world of video games and gaming overall. We're going to kick off today's show with what caught my eye. Chris, what caught your eye in the past week?
Twitch have stepped up again. Now they've for the last 6 months or so been rolling out a bunch of different ad features, trying to really help brands engage with the audiences on Twitch. And they've just announced a new interactive feature whereby the streamer can choose to run a poll, or run an ad, I should say, and then after that ad, there's a poll that's directly linked to it. Now, that type of interactive feature's been around on YouTube and other platforms for quite a while, but they haven't really sort of worked that and queue it and can ask for that feedback and that engagement. Could really start to see, a better engagement and a better tool here from Twitch.
So you can't have a new Twitch feature introduced without then polling the community. What did the community think? Yep. How did they react to a new ad product or a new ad inventory, in this case with Twitch? What was your reaction from the Twitch community?
Look, I haven't seen too much negative reaction from this one yet. It's still in beta and hasn't rolled out. You're right. When Twitch do roll out different ad products, the community does like to let everyone know what they think. I think when you see that there's an opportunity for the streamers to increase their revenues and for it to be done in a way that people get used to over time, then essentially people will become more accustomed to these types of things. So I'm not too concerned about it at the moment.
But it is something for, I guess, advertisers and marketers to be aware of going into a platform like Twitch, is how forthright and open like the community is for feedback. So it's always interesting when new tech or new changes or tweaks to things in Twitch, you can really get the feedback from both the community and also the content creators really quickly. So it's one for advertisers to look at. Moving right along, what we also try to do each week is to explain a game. And each week looking at a game, breaking it down from a marketer's point of view. We're not trying to fill your gamer queue and figure out what the next game you should be playing is, but what can marketers do with a particular game? And so this week, we're going to tackle one of the big ones in Fortnite. So, Chris, you want to give us a bit of a rundown on Fortnite overall from a marketing point of view?
Yeah, sure. I mean, everyone's heard of Fortnite. It's one of the big ones. I think 350 million players globally. It was on iOS. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but it's on PC, it's on console, it's on other forms of mobile phones as well. So really can get it everywhere, and that's kind of been one of the keys to their success. A really younger skewing game, a bit younger than some of the other first-person shooters, well known for introducing the Battle Royale or really expanding that category of game, and tends to skew more male than female, although we do see some great content creators in the female space on Fortnite as well.
And so from an in the news point of view, trying to look at what's happening in the news, obviously the current topic of conversation in the news has been the battle between Apple and Epic Games being the publisher of Fortnite, in them having a bit of a battle on where the money comes and goes and flows. That's still that's still partly in the courts and in the Twitter sphere, and the battle that's happening. But it is something to be aware of, in that they're currently restricted on the Apple ecosystem because they've got a dispute with iOS and the payment systems there.
Yeah, I think from their audience perspective, it probably impacts the younger audiences. I've got nephews that play on iPads or would have liked to play on iPad and can't anymore. So they're sort of their older end of their audience, which is probably sort of teenagers, early 20s. I think they're probably less impacted, but definitely one to keep watching. I think it's got a while to play out still.
So what we want to do is run through the Play Media playbook and just look at it from a brand's point of view. So, Chris, Fortnite, what opportunities are there in game for brands?
Yeah, there's been a lot of brand integrations in game in Fortnite. Right now, they're running a whole season based around Marvel, but they've had Star Wars. I think they've just announced NFL skins, DC Comics, lots of different entertainment brands. They do a lot of stuff with their creators and their influencers as well. So really kind of push the envelope in that space. And as we've talked about on this podcast before, they're doing music concerts, getting artists involved as well. So lots of ways to do stuff that's generally at a global level, though.
And from a lot of times when people are looking at games, they automatically go to the world of esports, which is not necessarily the case. Not every game becomes an esport. What does the esports scene look like for Fortnite?
Yeah, look, there is a scene. It's probably more considered to be a competitive scene than an esports scene in particular. There's lots of different ways to do it. Those content creators are hosting events. Fortnite are hosting events themselves. Some of the endemic brands in the hardware space doing stuff. It's more and more focused on the individual player, or if they're playing a duo or a trio or something, as opposed to the organization or the team aspect of it.
Ads. Can I book some ads inside the Fortnite platform? Is that available?
No, it's not. No.
Right? And that is a question we get often. There are games that do offer that, so keep an eye out for that for future episodes. Streaming. The video we're showing here is Lachlan, a big Fortnite streamer. What does the streaming scene look like in the world of Fortnite?
Yeah, Lachlan, Fresh, Muzel, a bunch of the guys, particularly under the Click brand, really made their names, grew their audiences from streaming Fortnite. It's been a massive boon, not just for those guys, but it's also helped push the popularity of Twitch up. It's really kind of one of the key ways to get involved with the Fortnite brand is to work with the influencers. And we've seen brands do that either directly working with influencers like that or by doing their own stuff as well. Wendy's ran a award-winning campaign where they had their own Wendy's player, Wendy's sort of icon playing in the game themselves. I've seen a really great campaign from Milka Chocolate around Easter and using a streamer to create a sort of Easter egg hunt within the game as well. So that sort of influencer-led space is probably one of the main ways for brands to get involved.
Yeah, and it starts with the streaming and people watching live and then getting cut up and those highlight videos and those longer tail pieces on YouTube. So a lot of opportunity with the content creators because Fortnite just lends itself to creating really cool videos a lot of people want to watch. The next one was events. What do events look like in the Fortnite arena?
Yeah, from a global pre-COVID situation, there were lots of either regional or global events, and they were because of the popularity of the game, they're very good at leveraging big video game events going on, things like TwitchCon or E3, even at PAX here in Australia, there were really popular tournaments for Fortnite happening. The main one here outside of those types of events has been the AO Summer Smash at the Australian Open. That's happened for the last 2 years. Given the uncertainty around Australian Open in 2021, I don't think that's going to happen again, but don't quote me on that. that's probably the main event at the moment.
And then lastly, we talked about having partnerships and getting IP in game. What are the opportunities for partnerships with the Fortnite IP outside the game?
Yeah, they've licensed their brand for all sorts of merchandise, towels, T-shirts, socks, lunchboxes, posters, bedspreads, etc., etc., etc. So I think from that point of view, if you want to do a sort of a collaboration with them, they're definitely open to that type of stuff. Again, I think it's probably got to be a global type deal, though.
Terrific. Well, there you go. That is Fortnite in our Explain a Game segment. Now we get to the main body of today's show, the big question. And today's big question is, this is where I get drum roll music, but I don't have it, so I'm not going to cue it up. There we go. Why don't? It's actually, this question actually came from a client in one of our sessions this week. Why don't more brands market to gamers? Which is a great question. And I guess if I kick things off and sort of explain the scene and why it is seen as hard, and is because it is a wide and varied and complex scene rather than a single channel. So as we've discussed before, there's many different gaming platforms, whether it's PC, console, mobile, and then there's different types of games. You were just talking there about Battle Royale, which is Fortnite, which is the game Fortnite is based on, FPS, MOBA, strategy, sports sims. It's understanding all of those different types of games and where your brand might fit, and then also what are all the different platforms that are required to understand. And so what we've sort of found in the space is there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And I guess one way of explaining it, and this is our obligatory, lots of images and lots of logos on the one screen. If I go to full screen, this is from Josh Chapman of Convoy Ventures. He does a really good job of breaking down the scene. And so this is the part where it is overwhelming when you look at this overall piece, but then it is about diving into the different components of it. So the professional scene, what does that look like? And we've talked a little bit about esports, but what does the community scene look like? How do people play games with their mates and different things? And then what does that sponsorship advertising pace look like? How do ads get into certain games? But then you've also got the publishers, the different games that are available. So there's a bunch of pieces to the puzzle that require some guidance, Chris.
And Sean, I think if you look at all those logos on the screen, it can be overwhelming. It's probably difficult for the viewer to see at home all of those different logos and understand what they all mean. That's where we, as a trusted partner, help navigate that way, and we do it in a way that's right for our clients, for the brands that we work with, the marketers that we work with. A lot of those different entities are really sort of, they're in it to push their own property, and they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole in terms of making sure that a solution is right for a brand. They're looking after themselves first, I guess. And so we're really focused on helping our clients, our partners understand the scene, understand which games, which platforms, which channels, which influencers, which types of marketing will work best for them, and really something that's going to help deliver on their objectives, hit their goals for them.
And it all comes down to those goals. Like, starting from there, what are you trying to get out of your efforts in the gaming space? And sort of want to dive in a little bit into, I guess, our strategy and our approach to take that long-term view. Because once you've got the goals, you understand what it is about navigating those different components. And so this is a short explainer on our 3 steps. It starts with integrated strategy, doesn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I think you've got to have those 2 key things, really, an integrated approach and a long-term approach. And so what are the right channels or the right product fit, I guess, within the marketing mix, whether it's working with influencers, whether it's doing display advertising, in-game type stuff with IP, whether you're creating content around it, whether you're doing all of those things. And I think some of the brands that we see that are doing the best in this space are doing lots of these different activities. Those that just come in, do one particular thing for a short period of time, aren't necessarily getting great longer term results. So being consistent and being multi-dimensional in the types of work, the marketing that you're doing works best, and also the measurement and the analytics of what you're doing over that longer period of time to really ensure that you're getting a good return on your investment. Again, I think one of the things that we see from some of the opportunities to get involved in gaming at the moment is the analytics, the report.
Yeah, I think it's a real big opportunity to be able to help identify what channels are working well for you and what is returning value, because without that data, you're really just chasing the big numbers, and there's a bit of a hope, which is the maturation that we've seen in traditional digital space, and we're seeing happening in the influencer market. As that rigor and maturity comes across the world of gaming, the savvy marketers will be able to pick the right channels that work really well for them. So that is our big question for today. Hopefully that gave you some insight. If you would like to talk further about it, please get in touch either at weareplaymedia.com. But now we're going to move forward into our next segment where we go and just do a bit of myth busting, where we bust some myths around the world of gaming that we are constantly unwinding and debunking is probably the better way of putting it. And this week's busting myth is you're going to tackle this one, Chris, because you had someone ask you this just recently.
Yeah, we get often asked from marketers, or marketers have the conception that video games are not safe for my brand. And if you look at the image on screen there, that's from Counter-Strike Go, or CSGO as it's abbreviated to, which is a first-person shooter with terrorists and bombs and blood and guts, and I can understand why people would think that may not be safe for their brand. But as we've discussed, there are lots of different games that may be more suitable. And also, one of the things that I think is really worth focusing on, Sean, is the fact that the people that watch these games, that like these games, they haven't got an issue with the safety of the brand. They love it, and they love brands that want to engage with it.
Yeah,
what do you
think? It's because it is 2 points. It's picking the right game for your brand, right? So CSGO, a first-person shooter, might not be right for a certain brand, but it definitely will. It definitely works for brands that do want to reach young males that love, I'll use the imagery that we've got here. This video and these shots are from IEM, Intel Extreme Masters in Sydney. And, if I'd have taken the same picture 15 years ago of Bay 13, it's exactly the same demographic. The video there, 500 or 600 guys all standing up, singing the national anthem before one of the games when an Australian team goes up on stage. Exactly the same, I guess, demographic profile as you would see at a football match or at a pub having a punch, those kind of things. That's what fits with their demographic. Then the other side of it is, finding games that do fit for your brand. And now I think the piece where I see this myth and busting this myth is just around there is a game, and there is a game community and a game audience that fits for a lot of brands. And so that's the piece that it's that it's wider. It's very easy to pigeonhole all video games as violent or gory and all of those kinds of things. But as we've seen, we've talked about Roblox. We've talked about, to a certain degree, Fortnite has made it mainstream. We've seen, sporting arenas where they're bringing on the jumbotron and people are doing the Fortnite dance, and all the dances, and that's where it's made it mainstream. But in between the dances, people are still going around and shooting different players as part of the game. So I think there's a few different angles to it, but there's definitely opportunities there.
There's lots of different examples of different brands working with different games. We've looked at working with Pokemon Go. We've seen Joe Biden's campaign getting into the Animal Crossing game. There's lots and lots of different ways for brands to get involved. Of course, some brands, they may decide that it's not right for them, and that's okay too. But don't be scared off by the sort of the FPS, the violent games. There are plenty of other opportunities to get involved.
Yeah, definitely. And it all starts with, who is your audience, and then we'll find out which of your audience is playing those games. Next segment, as we move forward, as I hit the appropriate button to bring it up, is Play Media Insights. Each week on a Friday after this episode, we also send out an email where we share some different pieces of content that we've been reading to keep up to date. This week, we're going to talk about a couple of those. And the first one, I'm going to put my hand up because it's from my podcast, Sports Geek podcast, where I was lucky enough to interview Tim McGregor. Tim McGregor is the managing director of TEG Live, and he talked about both IEM, that we just had a picture there before, and also Melbourne Esports Open, and seeing esports as a growing live event experience, obviously post Corona. To be able to connect with fans, connect with viewers, connect with gamers, and that's going to really just open up opportunities for brands to be involved with more of these kind of events.
Yeah, and the live aspect of gaming and esports events has obviously been impacted the same way that sports and music and theatre and other events has. But it was really great to hear Tim talk so positively about gaming and about esports and how much he's looking forward to those bigger events coming back.
And I think it is it's a bit of it's a proving point, I think, for esports, the people that go, oh, it's not real, it's not like a real sport. And I remember the first time I went to MEO a couple of years ago, standing alongside a father that had gone there. It was actually on Father's Day. He was there with his, I think, 12, 13-year-old boy, and the son couldn't understand all the noise while he was watching it. Because he's normally watching it on Twitch in his sort of one-to-many experience. But then he started to understand, you cheer and you clap your hands and you roar, which is the same experience that we've grown up in a sport. So I think as that develops and that tribal nature of the live event develops, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for that to grow, but then also brands to be involved with events like MEO.
I thought it was a really good point as well that given Australia's done so well to tackle COVID and got it under control, we'll start to see people come back into stadiums and into other venues as live audiences, and that could be attractive to musicians or other touring acts, and that could include esports and gaming as well. So hopefully we're in for a entertaining 2021.
Definitely. And the next one we want to look at is sort of a bit of a breakdown of a brand that you think is doing a great job in the world of esports in Bud Light, Chris.
Yeah, and I think, if you look back at the long-term approach that we talked about earlier, Bud Light really do, for me, follow those key principles that we've got. What you see here is some of their activities in esports. So they sponsor multiple leagues, both in an online environment, but an at-home environment as well. But they don't just restrict what they're doing in the gaming space to esports. If you jump to the next slide, you'll see some of the other stuff that they're doing. They've got their own Twitch channel. I think they're up to sort of 50,000 followers on Twitch on their own channel where they're creating their own content. And so they put some of that esports content there as well, but they're creating their own bespoke content, and they're doing it with some of the really the influencers that sort of attractive to their target markets. They're using this to introduce new products like the seltzers that you see there, as well as the traditional beers as well. And then really filling that out with really interesting and entertaining content, either on that Twitch channel or on their YouTube channel or other platforms as well. I think the sort of the multi-angled approach consistently over a long time has really helped establish them as probably the beer brand in the esports space at the moment.
And the thing is, they are building an audience and building a connection with an audience. So when they have got a new product that is for that younger demographic, and that they might not be a beer drinker, and so they're offering up things like the seltzers and those kind of products, there's automatically brand recognition. They walk into a bar and they go, oh, actually, they support what I love. In the same way that alcohol brands have been associated with sport and the like for many, many years. It's a way to, and there's, like you said, they're so far out in front because they've been early and done their testing and learning. It's a really good case study for ways you get in now and get in early, because you get to do some testing when before the crush of advertisers come along.
That's right.
So that pretty much wraps up this episode. Before I do so, we want to make sure that you can reach us both. Chris, how can people reach you on the internet?
Yeah, Chris Derrick on LinkedIn is a great way to get to me to reach business. If you want to follow some of the weird and random things I like to say on Twitter, then I am Chris Derrick there as well.
And I am at Sean Callanan, or Sean at weareplaymedia.com. You can go to weareplaymedia.com. And what I will do this week, before we wrap up, is invite you to join the Play Media Discord. The Play Media Discord is where we are sharing some of these notes and sharing prep for the podcast and some of the articles that we're reading. So if you're in the Play Media Discord, you'll start getting the good juice and the good links before each episode. So you just go to weareplaymedia.com for links to YouTube, for links to Discord. That's it for this week. My name is Sean Callanan.
I'm Chris
There
Derrick.
we go. We're going to figure out the outro by about episode 3. All right, cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this Play Media replay. Remember, these episodes are coming out on the Play Media YouTube channel. You can find that at weareplaymedia.com. As always, if you want to look at the world of video games, gaming, streaming, esports, this is where I'm going to send you to the Play Media work. That's where I'm going to be doing that kind of work. Still be doing everything Sports Geek with clients around digital and activations and the like, but anything in the gaming space will be under the Play Media banner. Go to weareplaymedia.com.